May 25th of 2018, Sky Striker was released into TCG. In this episode, we're going to dive into the evolution of Sky Striker from when the deck first came out and how it's changed. So without further ado, this is the history of Sky Striker. The first initial release of the Sky Striker archetype debuted in Dark Saviors May 25th of 2018, releasing the core of Sky Strikers featuring the first Sky Striker ace monster, Ray. Ray was a game changer as she had a quick effect that allowed her to dodge from being targeted by tributing herself for a Sky Striker ace link monster, quickly making this deck strong against a lot of the power cards that would target specifically. Along with Ray came all the important Sky Striker spell cards, most importantly, Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. This card is a searcher and a free draw if you have at least 3 spell cards in the graveyard, and this was a game changer as the deck was heavily spell oriented. All the other spells within the archetype also have a variety of diverse effects, Widow Anchor allowing you to negate a monster on the field or take it if you had at least 3 spells in the graveyard. Hornet Drones, which basically allowed you to summon a Sky Striker token, enabling you to start link plays if you didn't have access to Ray. And there were many other spells, but these are the most notable upon release. People also had really good ideas with the archetype, innovating a Trickstar variant that would commonly wait until the opponent searched a card, then would activate Droll and Lockbird, and then flipping Trickstar Reincarnation, forcing the opponent to banish their entire hand and draw the same number of cards, but due to Droll and Lockbird being in effect, they would simply not be able to draw, leaving them with 0 cards. People were also doing well with the Goki variant of Sky Striker that would simply tech 3 Mobilize Engage and 3 Hornet Drones to perform Striker plays, and then would opt to U-lock the opponent so they wouldn't be able to use their extra deck. And if you all remember Master Rule 4, the rule stated if you summoned a monster from the extra deck, it would have to go to the extra monster zone first unless you had link arrows available. Goki would utilize a series of link arrows to take up both extra monster zones. This deck was completely unfair, and the Striker Spice didn't help the cause. It's also important to note that due to Sky Strikers being such a long, grindy, drawn out game, in early June of 2018, Konami implemented changes to the time rules due to events lasting until 3 and 4 in the morning. Instead of having a set amount of turns to finish, you simply had to finish the phase you're in. This caused so much chaos within the Yu-Gi-Oh community, and this was part of the destruction Sky Strikers made that severely impacted the game. About 2 months after the release of Sky Strikers came Cybernetic Horizon, July 27th of 2018. Releasing a very significant Sky Striker ace link monster, Hayate. This card added so much flexibility to the archetype with the insane ability to attack directly and then sending a Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard, giving you access to Ray, or sending a spell card that you can then recycle with Kagari. People were more so opting to play pure Sky Strikers after this point, although other variants were still viable. Next came the September 2018 ban list, and you would think with Sky Strikers dominating the meta that Konami would make heavy changes to the archetype. But instead, all they did was limit Hornet Drones to 1, so it wasn't so splashable in other decks. As a result, Sky Strikers was still the most dominant deck in the meta. Sky Striker remained at the top of the meta for many months to come. It wasn't until the April 2019 Forbidden and Limitless when they suffered another hit on the list when Konami decided to limit Kagari to 1. This hit wasn't as impactful as you think, as Sky Striker was still in the tier 1 status along with Thunder Dragon and Salaman Great. 2 months after Kagari received a limitation came the July 2019 list where Konami limited multi-roll to 1. If you're not familiar with multi-roll, it has an insane ability where you can send 1 card you control to the graveyard. All your Striker spell cards cannot be responded to for the rest of the turn. But wait, it gets better. During the end phase, you can also set striker spells with different names from your graveyard face down up to the number of striker spells you activated this turn while multi-role was face up on the field, but banish them when they leave the field. This effect allows you to establish so much advantage by being able to reuse your spells on the following turn, hindering your opponent's ability to play. After slowly picking Sky Striker apart over the course of 2019, Konami decided to hit the deck another time on the October 2019 list by limiting Widow Anchor to 1. This hindered the deck just enough to make Orcus the better deck of that format. People were also opting to play Sky Striker Orcus during this time as well, due to Mobilize Engage being at 3 copies, and as a result became a very viable deck choice. After this format, Konami realized the true problem. On the January 2020 ban list, Konami just outright banned Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, making the deck completely unplayable. Even after putting Kagari to 3 on this same list, with Engage being banned, it didn't make much of a difference. Along with the ban list at the beginning of January, at the end of this same month, Konami released a new set titled Ignition Assault, releasing a new Sky Striker Ace monster, Rose. Sky Striker was still extinct and deemed unplayable by many until Ryan Yu, at the age of 15 years old, won first place May 23rd at LCS number 3 with Sky Strikers as an anniversary. Due to COVID, there were no in-person events and all the tournaments were online, and he managed to go undefeated at this event with 319 people. This tournament was indeed a dedicated anniversary to 2 years since the release of Strikers, and he felt the need to play the deck even in spite of Synchro Eldritch and Adamancipator reigning supreme. On the September 2020 ban list, Synchro Eldritch and Adamancipator got severely hit by the ban list. Meanwhile, Widow Anchor went back to 3 copies. Still, nobody was opting to play Striker as Engage was still banned, and the deck hadn't done much since Ryan Yu won LCS 3. Fast forwarding 1 year, on July 2021, the time has finally come. Sky Striker Mobilize Engage came back to 1. This is a huge deal for Striker players, as the deck is actually playable since Widow Anchor is at 3, as well as having 3 Kagari. The deck is near full power even with 1 Engage and ready to creep the meta. I really hope you enjoyed this video, as Striker is a fan favorite archetype, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like and a comment. Until then, there are more decks to come.